properties. Okay, now I think audio is working. Goodness, I have to chapter another live that says audio starts here because I'm bad at technology. Okay, my apologies, goodness. So I figured this was gonna be, yeah, the sound should work now. You can hear me now, right? Okay, there we go. My goodness, I'm so bad at technology. I can read some charts, but I don't know how. My wife orders Ubers and stuff. It's sad. Okay, I'm gonna start with the market. That's gonna be what I always do, right? I'm gonna flash a couple inverses just to make sure they're on the top of mind. I'm gonna go through a couple sectors. That's what I normally do on this thing. And then, hey, if you have anything you want to throw into this live coverage, just throw it in the chat. The simple fact, and I said it on yesterday's video, and I'm gonna kind of just this. It is the real truth, right? My strategy is crush it when the market is good and pull back when it's not, right? There are a lot of people out there that really thrive in this market. They love this badness. Me, I really don't, right? So I'm not necessarily saying, hey, my stuff's gonna be useless in the next couple bits, right? But I'm not here to average down. I'm not here to like long and strong hold, right? I'm here waiting for the lines to say we're going to turn around. And I'm not using big words like crash and this and that, but hey, today was a scary day. It actually was, especially with Monday being the end of the month, being the end of the quarter, and oh man, this is a little bit of a rough setup for that Monday end, right? So just a couple general thoughts right there, right? So let's get into the technicals real quick. And hey, you can see it. NASDAQ, SP 500, and the Dow Jones all had a rather rough day, right? So on the Dow Jones, it actually loses the 200 for the first time. I think the S&P 500 is like that perfect in between right here, because this gets to and not even basically, this really does. This gets rejected by the 200 moving average, right? So Dow Jones was over it, doing all right, now under it. This thing tries to get over it, and I mean, just that's a hard rejection. That's a 1, 2, 3. You know, I'm going to talk about the doji across all of them, right? And then NASDAQ, again, this one was never over it, never really even got that. I mean, you can kind of argue how close it got. You know, I was excited right there for that little bit, right? But man, this is tough. And again, you hear me say this often. A doji, look, on an index especially, if you're going to get a doji on a multitude of lines, whether it's, you know, one moving average and one of my lines or two moving averages in this case, man, that next candle, the doji is uncertainty, right? There's 7 hours in a trading day, and you can look in the box over there. This thing opens at 811 and closes at 804. In a 7 hour day, people thought it should have gone up there. People thought it should have came down here. They said, you know what, let's just move what, $7? Is that the, get out of here, right? Like, that's a crazy uncertainty. The next day should bring the truth. Man, that's a bad truth right there, right? And what I was mentioning on yesterday's video was, look, none of the majors have really lost the 50 moving average on the weekly. That really was the case yesterday. That's a doji. This is the first bad candle under it, right? And as I zoom out, I mean the first one since early 2023 when we were actually under it right there, right? You can see we were under it that little moment. And then from 2023 all the way to the beginning of 2025, we've never been under that red line, right? So the magnitude of that is pretty big. Again, I don't know if the word crash is there just yet, right? But now all of a sudden, the monthly's really close to the 20 right there. The monthly is getting closer on the S&P 500, and again, the Dow Jones, the third one away, went from what I was saying is the cleanest and the best of them to actually really quickly catching up. And again, I think that's echoed on the daily, right? So it's starting to look tough here, all right? The inverses of all of these are doing really well, right? The SQQQ is the complete opposite of the QQQ, which looks exactly like NASDAQ, right? SQQQ for the first time, and you can guess it, right? Since probably 2023, yeah, that exact opposite of it, it's actually over that 200 moving average, right? So does the red line move more? Okay, yeah, right? So remember, so I don't know the math behind these lines, right? But it only takes 8 candles for this thing to start moving on the 8. It takes 20 for the this and 50. So the red 50 is going to be moving at the bare minimum more than 2x slower than that. And what? 8, 6, 40, 6 times slower than the 8, right? So the fifth, and one thing I've said a bunch, I like, I don't really watch other YouTube videos, but I guarantee you on this, almost every single moving average person talks about these three. These three are the fundamental lines of anything. And then from there, some people have some smaller ones. I've seen some bigger ones. Man, I've seen people use the 600 and the 800 moving average. And it's interesting to see. I don't really use those. I have no idea. But like, again, the 50 is the bare bone first, like bare bone moving average. And that's a bad one to lose and it's obviously the opposite here, right? It looks like, oh, it's not, that's wrong here. The weekly is where it was, duh. It's a big one to break too, which is the opposite on this one, right? Like we've been under that 50 for forever and a half, right? If we break it, you can see break this one, you're gonna go to that one. We're talking about a beautiful move there. It's the exact same on SH, right? You're gonna short the S&P 500 right here, right? One guy in the Discord is talking about calls on the VIX, right? I don't really do options, right? But the VIX is a real big inverse. And hey, you throw a little bit options in that, and yeah, man, he's showing some real cool percentages, right? So, and there's some crazy things you can short. TSLQ. Okay, this is a 2x short of Tesla, all right? And Tesla, let's go on the daily. It looks, Tesla has obviously been doing really, really well, right? So to short it was dumb, but hey, all of a sudden when the election happened and like it's been really bad the last bit, right? Since this January moment, this thing's been going down. All of a sudden, TSLQ, you can tell I barely know that one, but this thing's been climbing, right? So that the inverses are a real interesting thing if you don't do options, because it's your way of betting on the down and look, again, I'm a positive person. I want things to go up, up, up all the time, right? The last thing I'm gonna do, number one, on videos, number two, to myself, is look at this and say, nah, it's okay, it's just whatever. Let's just average it down a little bit and then it'll be, no, this is rough right here. This is bad on the daily. This is very worrisome on the weekly. And this is actually really concerning on the monthly. And that's a tough combo when you're talking about an index, right? That's kind of normal, when you're talking about a silly little ticker, but when the NASDAQ can't do well, it's hard for stocks to do well, especially tech ones. You know what I mean? And it's so we were talking about Cooler today, and again, I have no structure to this, but Cooler had really good earnings from what at least one person in the Discord said, right? I have no idea if he's correct and this and that, but they beat earnings. They have no debt. They're playing with the words AI and robotics. You know me, I love those sectors, right? I've thrown a lot of my personal little trading money into that thing, right? Like, I love those sectors. It's tough to do well. Look, it definitely closed down here and opens all the way up here. That's a hard, beautiful gap up. But then it ends up closing all the way down here and gets up basically 0%, right? Like, I think another really good example was Rocket Labs. So after hours, Rocket Labs has a 5.68 billion, not million, 5 billion plus deal, right? Beautiful gap up. Beautiful gap up, opens all the way up here at 19, almost 80. and then, sorry, 1960, and then ends up coming all the way back down and basically gains nothing. It's 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 tough for an individual stock to do well when the market's not good. Now, what we did see, and hey, remember, I saw it, and again, I got excited. I'm not pretending I didn't. Even that little 2 day thing, that 3 day thing for sure. But if you can get two green candles in a row on an index, right? And it was the same thing on the S&P 500, right? We had that 1 2 and then that 1 2 3, right? If you can get two candles that are green on the index, especially if one's a gap up the day after, oh man, that's where you see those 20% gains. And I can just go through the list, and we're going to do that shortly, right? But oh man, you gotta remember that we're not in this anymore, right? And I'm not here to talk about politics. I am too dumb to tell you I know about economic movements and national this and that, right? And there's a lot of crazy tariff things going on. There's a lot of crazy war things going on, right? Like those are just two baseline truths. And the way I was kind of describing it was, we're living in a live earnings call right now, right? Trump is still on the microphone. He's doing new things. He's changing this. He's pausing this. And again, we're not here to say whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether we disagree or not. Hey man, that's not what this channel's about, right? But when it's done, that'll be when things calm down. And I'm telling you, I actually don't even care if it's good or bad. Like, I really don't. We just need it to finish, because there's just too much uncertainty. And again, I call it an earnings call because this is all very 50-50, and the market does not like uncertainty, right? Market's supposed to know what's going to happen. Market only cares that the sun came up and down. If anything in between happens, that's where things get edgy, right? So I think that was a little bit of a tangent. I think so, but like, hopefully that made sense. One more time, I'm going to flash it. This is a real bad S&P 500 right there. This is a real good S&P 500 short, because it's the exact opposite. And as that does bad, this does good. And again, this thing's breaking that 200 kind of for the first time since right here, right? Since later 2023. But yeah, this one feels different, right? Dow Jones, DJ30, does not look that beautiful. S Dow looks the exact opposite, right? So I think we can use this going on. Oh man, I don't think the only thing I sincerely am predicting is things are about to go down. Like, I'm telling you, I'm not here to doom and gloom. That's not my game, right? I said it on the Discord. Look, I'm not here to tell you where my money's at, right? Like, I'm just a dude. Believe me, if my buys were better, my wife and we'd be living in a bigger house with a nicer view. You know what I mean? But the only things I've held overnight since February are inverse tickers. I've made some moves in those 5, and I said it was about 5 days. I really didn't remember. I wasn't in front of the charts, but like, man, those 5 days on S&P. Let's just stay on the S&P 500. Let's just look at it from here, right? The 5 days are these two candles, and then really what's 4 here, but it's 3, right? It's the like. This thing was just climbing because things were bad, right? This is the inverse. And then all it took was basically 5 days to take us from over them all to almost under below, right? Like, when the market is quick, when you give us two back to back, you attack right now, right? But for me, at least, I'm scared to hold anything overnight, because the only thing I'm confident in is bad things are happening. I adjusted my 401k. I'll tell you that, right? I actually moved from a very, very bullish, aggressive thing. And it's done me well, knock on wood, all right? I went, and my conservative doesn't mean less contribution, right? I'm still contributing a lot comparatively to others, right? But I'm now holding different things in my 401k, and this is for the US people. I've talked about 401ks to Europeans and they have no idea what it is, but yeah, it's interesting. Hey, everything's for sure going to be okay and temporary. 100%, right? But the goal is take advantage of what it is right now, and to me, take advantage isn't average down. It's keep your army safe, right? Keep your money safe, right? And then when it's ready, you go attack, right? So that's overall market, okay? And then from there, I'm going to just kind of start doing normal sector things. Um, there is for sure going to be decent corrections along the way, but you know, to me, I'm here for sustainability, right? And the only thing that feels like is sustaining is bad, right? Once that changes, believe me, I'm going to be all about the tickers, but I'm just going to start going through the tickers, right? There's not going to be a lot of good things I'm about to say on the normal ones we look at, right? So, in some ways, that becomes a game of like starting to look at different tickers, but in a lot of ways, why? Right? Like you don't need to change your strategy. Just wait for the environment to work for your strategy. You know what I mean? So just my 2 cents, right? But we're gonna look at AI. We'll look at Quant. We'll look at weed, and then maybe a couple randoms in between, and then throw some tickers in the chats right now. Hey, if there's anything else about market thoughts, throw them in there too, right? But yeah, let's get into the tickers. Sorry, I gotta write notes. How long have I been talking for? I don't even know. I'll figure it out. I'll chapter it later. Okay, let's start. So let's start with NVIDIA. Let's go a long way through. So Nvidia, number one, Nvidia you can say is the number one stock like anywhere, right? But hey, at the minimum, if Nvidia isn't doing well, it's going to be tough for other AI related things to not do well, right? And I mean, on the daily, this thing is under all five moving averages right now, right? It hasn't really confirmed. You can kind of say yes here, but I would say no, right? Bad candle, no, bad candle, no, and then a bunch of dojis in between. That's a bad candle, and both of these are no. Again, they're dojis, right? So it doesn't look good. Don't get me wrong, right? But I'm worried, like I said, this is the last. Let me go back to the index because this is the last thing I said that I didn't really talk about, but I'm glad I at least chaptered it with the AI part. This is the monthly candle right now, and on Monday, we're gonna finish the month. Not only are we gonna finish the month, but we're gonna finish the quarter. And just looking at this, it makes me at least believe we're going to probably come down to the 8, which is around there, right? And look, at the minimum, it just feels like NASDAQ's not the happiest and finished. And when you look at NVIDIA, it's about the same thing. It's actually that same quarterly view. It never really even came down to the 8, right? So, where Nasdaq goes so well Nvidia, and right now this one looks tough. Palantir is actually next, then is SoundHound, and then I got those other three for sure, right? So on the weekly, it really does feel like this 94 line, 95 you can basically call it, is going to be it, right? I think it's going to take a little bit of time to come down. I don't think it's going to come down quick, but I think in the time that it takes to come down, this 100 moving average is basically going to catch up to it, right? So I think 95 is realistic here. Maybe you can say like a flat, not even a flat, yeah, 99.40. Maybe you can say maybe even 100 is 50% of that candle right there. But yeah, I like that 95 candle. I'm assuming. Oh no, that's nothing. Oh, you know what? No, let me actually. I would raise it to that. I assume there was some history, but obviously there wouldn't. That might have even been. That's the line I like. We're sitting right there. I like 99 right now. Hey, if we lose 99, that actually changes what I did just say too. This will fall to 88. So be careful with that, all right? So if NVIDIA looks like this, I have to imagine, get out of here. Palantir, you're holding the weekly nicely. Look at you. Yo, Palantir. I haven't looked at this one in a while. I think my comment on Palantir is two things. I'm a little bit worried that the Department of Defense is supposed to do an 8% reduction per year. But you know what? That doesn't mean they're gonna stop buying from everyone. And man, this shows a lot. Look, when your tech stock looks better than the Nasdaq, right? When it looks better than the S&P 500, yo, that's solid. This thing is still over the 100, and it actually has the 200 down here. The problem becomes, man, I don't know how long this thing can outride the bad market, right? So there's always outliers, right? And everything I do say is set in stone, and this doesn't take back anything I said in the beginning, right? But I would, at the bare minimum, remember that Palantir. I would love for you to say why you think it's not good. Throw that in the comments for sure. But to me, this is a strong stock. When a tech stock is doing significantly better than the Nasdaq itself on the daily charts, like that's solid. Now look, I still actually have to believe that this thing's going to be coming down to 80. And then if it loses 80, my fear would be that it comes down to basically 70. I'm clicking at 68, right? But as bad as that sounds, I'm shocked that I'm not saying it's going to come to the 200. You know what I mean? Let's see if 68 lines up on the weekly anywhere. It's 52. Maybe that'll come up a bit. But yeah, no, I like my line. And even the 52, no, that's below that. But yeah, again, to me, that's at least, I hope, some sort of something. Hey, if this is actually able to get over, so where are you? You're 93. Okay, I think 92.55 would be a good line. There's no such thing as safe, but as early as about 91.20, if it can get over that, that would be solid, right? Even with NVIDIA, I actually didn't give the up numbers. I don't see it. That I like being above where NASDAQ sits. So look, I know this looks a little bit better than NASDAQ because, hey, it's at least like on the line as opposed to that ugly candle. But to me, this is pretty much apples to apples with NASDAQ, right? It is a little bit prettier than NVIDIA, but actually, again, when I said NVIDIA, I said that this thing actually hasn't really confirmed much, right? All of this has been one bad candle with another non-confirmation behind it, right? So to me, all of those two are at the same place. They're basically testing the bottom of the last one, right? That's a tough way down. We're right there, right? Oh man. So I would say 703 is very realistic. Oh, that's tight. I think if we come to 840 on SoundHound, that must hold or it will fall. What did I say? 703? I think I clicked there. I think it'll fall to basically 7, if not the 690 that I'm basically clicking on right there, right? So SoundHound looks rough. Where's your weekly at? Okay, the one thing you have to hope for on SoundHound is the fact that the 50 on the weekly and the 200 on the daily are real strong lines. My concern is the daily's kind of saying the highest I'm probably going to go is what, 10? 960. You know what I mean? So maybe there's a bounce here from 850 to like 950, give or take, as these kind of keep coming down. Maybe you can even use that 933, but that's rough. Maybe if this got into that like 970 range, maybe you can go all the way up to there, but I think that's going to be a tough little gap to get into right there, right? So, yeah, BBAI, where are you? Oh, interesting. All right. Again, it's physically over the 200, not too shabby, but again, it didn't impress me as much as Palantir did, right? So, I kind of think at this point it's just it seems in like, why is this a good support right there? I guess it's the top of that candle right there. Let me zoom back. Is there some more stuff? Let me just draw this and see what it does. Because that's a real interesting support right there. And again, yeah, we're basically at the top of that. What's back here? That's not even half. This line, right? All right, maybe it's something right there. It's kind of the peak right there. I don't know. I have no idea. Like I just see the bounce, 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 bounce. That's an interesting little three line right there. Um, so look, at this point, I have to imagine that this thing's going to be coming down to 270. I will say I like this little channel path here. Maybe there's a chance that this thing can go to 320 and then from there to 350 and then from there to 390 and then from there to there, right? But again, that's just, I think, asking a little bit too much. Look, NASDAQ needs to do a lot on Monday for any of these AIs, not Compass. Compass is still holding. I've made that pudgy finger click a couple times. NASDAQ needs to do, like, NASDAQ needs to at least come back to 17.5 for a lot of these to start making that little up move that I was talking about, right? I talked BBAI. What's another one in this thing? Let me see. I think MSTR might fit in this. They're kind of an AI stock in some ways. Oh man, that's a tough candle right there. I'm seeing a technical rejection of the 100 moving average. I think this was lining up really well with those couple days on the NASDAQ, right? NASDAQ was starting to make a nice little pop on this day right here, the 21st, MSTR. What day was this right here? That looks like the 21st. It was the 21st, right? So it tried with NASDAQ. NASDAQ failed. I mean, it is what it is, right? I know I'm saying bad technical things about these stocks, right? I'm not here saying they're bad, right? I'm just here really, really saying it's hard to take a boat out in the ocean when there's 60-foot waves, right? I was talking about the Titanic on the Discord, right? I'm sure it was a really, really well-built boat, right? The problem is an iceberg's going to take something down, right? All due respect to all of them, right? But we're in tough seas, and man, I don't think any of these stocks are worth down here or down here. But to me, if the market starts, and when I say the market, I'm talking NASDAQ specifically for these tech ones, right? If it falls, what is it gonna do? I'm not a fan of switching to Chinese stocks. There was a thing that I was gonna put on this video. There was a good bunch right here that I'm gonna cover. But me personally, I think China stocks are just a little too shady. And again, I say that with all due respect, right? But to me, what I've really been echoing, unfortunately, is boring is better than wrong. I would much rather be bored and not making as many trades as I would, or just be bored and be in an inverse and make like 3%, 5% a day. And that's better than losing 7 or 8 or 12, right? And that's just me, right? And I'm never here saying do what I say. I'm here saying steal my stuff if you like it, right? My setup, my strategy, etc., right? So I love the question though. Hey, I really do, because I've had other people tell me, right? Like, why don't you do, like, I think one example, and again, I go on a tangent, and I with Baba, I think Baba, like, there's too many gap up candles in most China stocks. And oh man, that messes with a lot of how I do things, because a gap up fake out is one of the hardest things for me personally. And I'm saying all this with a smile. So yeah, I say it one more time, right? Because it really is the truth. Don't force your strategy in an environment it's not going to succeed in, right? Like the bear hibernates when the bear needs to hibernate. Oh man, that coffee stock, bro. You see the runs, you see the big numbers, you actually see some legit volumes too, and like some nice technical setups. But the rug can get pulled so quickly. And hey, there's for sure money to be made. The last thing I'm ever here to say is every ticker is a silly ticker. I try to do my best to make them all like 3 to 5 letters, but man, I get I when it's gonna sound racist if I make the next sentence, but I'm not gonna say it. But like, yeah, when I see the ticker name, if it looks suspiciously like it's from mainland or somewhere just not domestic, oh man, it's kind of game over to me, right? So again, trade whatever you're comfortable with. Just because I'm not comfortable with it, look at this Baba run. And I very confidently said I think Baba's going to hold. I know that looks. I'm going to talk about this one later. I digress, right? Did I do BBAI? I did do BBAI. We're going to circle back to the end. How did we get to there? We're going to circle to the end of AI, I think. We'll chapter it there. Let's do Quant next, real quick. Okay, just in case you're fast forwarding, I think I loved what I just ended my last sector on. I'm going to say these things are going to be coming down, not because I think they're valued down here or because I think this stock isn't deserving of this. Like, that's not my game, right? I'm just here following what the lines tell me. And more than anything, if NASDAQ is under all five moving averages on the daily, looking like it's about to lose the 50 and head to the 100, and oh man, it's tough for even a Rigotti or even an NVDA, right? It's tough. So I like what we're seeing here technically. It should be really difficult to lose a bunch of moving averages when they're so close to each other, right? I call it a cluster often, but to me, it's inevitable at some point it's going to go up or down. I have to believe Nasdaq's going to kind of take over if it continues on its down. Like today was a scary candle. It really was, right? And I like that it didn't like overflow on this side. It's not like we really saw a crazy 16% day, but man, look at that volume drop off, right? I often say volume is king, right? It's queen for the ladies watching this thing. And when there's no interest, it's like no gas in the tank, right? And it just seems like it more likely feels we're gonna fall from the 100. The next, that's basically there. Where are you? Maybe 660 can hold it, but I don't know if 660 will hold it. And I think we're probably going to be coming down to five right there. Um, oh man, yeah, look at the weekly, right? The weekly says there's a lot of strength down here at 450 actually, right? So I think that five makes a lot of sense. From there, look, we can't lose five. Clearly, I wouldn't want to lose five here because that's going to put you under all the moving averages on the daily. You lose five, and you're basically going to head to the last one down there, right? I think losing five is even a stretch, right? We're still at an $8 stock, right? So we'll put 850. Sorry, 650 for now. It was this line. 650 for now in the back pocket, but I think 650 is probably next. Otherwise, I would even need to be higher than the golden line. I would I would probably call it there. I would rather wait till like 1150. One thing I've been doing on the Discord too is I have to add like a little bit extra, like a bad market buffer is what I've been calling it. Like I would normally put it a couple extra cents, right? Different risk rewards, believe me, but oh man, with that bad market. And again, there's also the question of are you going to hold it overnight or not, right? Like I'm here, and I'm not a day trader, I'm not, right? But my goal is at least like a 7 hour swing, is kind of what I hope for. I wake up real early, I look at my phone, I see what's good, I hopefully do a move, and yeah, I'm probably going to unload by the end of the day, right? So none of these so far are at least maybe a day or something, right? But oh man, Nasdaq's got to do better. Let's look at QBTS next. My concern here, look, I like when the spacing of moving averages is like this on the way up. My concern is the opposite of it on the way down, right? It's I would much rather these be closer so that it's harder to lose multiple moving averages, right? But here you can lose this and quickly fall to that. You can lose this and quickly fall to that. Then the big question is, are you going to lose that and hard fall to that, right? So I think it is solid that it's at least trying to hold the 8 and the 20 as best as it can, but I don't like the spacing if the down happens. Again, if Monday bounces, the 20 is a good line. We've seen it a bunch of times take it up to the 8 over back to the 8, right? But look, I also see that there was an earnings. I don't know if this is really accurate or not, right? But this is the same thing I'm about to say about Cooler, and I said it earlier. Even if there was good earnings, even if a stock really does bring some real good, legit news to itself, man, sometimes the individual stock itself just can't outweigh the market. You know what I mean? So, I would actually really like this thing around 901. Ooh, that's a big jump. Yeah, 901's at least half of that in time. Yeah, 901's not bad. You can even call it like 906, and why not? A couple cents over that. Get me to 906, and again, I might start to believe that this is going to come to 11. But yeah, my fear is you lose the 20, and that's bad spacing on the way down, right? Normally, on the way up, we attack that thing real good, right? So, um, yo, Blackie, hope the kid's doing well, man. Hope the family's good, man. Nice. Hey, I will get to yours. You know, I should have added SMCI actually on the AI ones. I could have done that. Maybe I'll just throw that on these two. Let me go through the other big four real quick. IONQ real quick. Yeah, again, right? IONQ looks like it's probably going to be heading down here to basically 20, right? What's your 50%? I would actually even call it 1920. I think a 1920 is probably realistic here. If this can get over 2470, give or take, that's not a bad channel right there. That's maybe one of the first channels I'd be interested in. I don't even know if I want to set an alert right here or not, right? But that's not a bad channel. And again, maybe even 25. 25 wouldn't be that bad because now you're at the top of that candle and a little more than halfway, and you're still getting a nice 20% right there. It looks like you're adding like $5 at least. So, all right, I'll set that one. I said all right to myself. We'll do 2501. Again, it's tough market. Nasdaq's gonna need to do well. If you're gonna attack something, look for good channels. That's really the game right there. Bullfrog. Was I supposed to do Bullfrog? Damn, that's another one I forgot. IONQ. What's after this one? It's QUBT. That's the one we haven't done here. Oh, get out of here. Look, this looks interesting, okay? And again, on any other normal good market, I would actually be really excited about this one. And I actually would be probably talking about 1430 right now. QUBT, where's this line? Okay, wow. Where's your 50%? 904. This is the one I truly should have done the first alert on. This is the first actually decent, interesting one. And I'm going to go back to what I said about Palantir. I think it's really interesting to see that this thing's actually trying to break them all and go. I think we covered it earlier. I'm surprised, unlike MSTR, which also tried to get to that same 100 moving average, that same overall moving averages, I'm surprised it didn't go down. Instead, it actually was able to hold, right? And that's an interesting one to me right there. Look, I still have to actually be a little leaning towards bad than good, right? It's just what Nasdaq's telling me to do. But yeah, you break that 904 and there might be an interesting way to 1150. And then if 1150 goes, that's when I'd be thinking that 14 right there. But hey, going from 9 something to 11 something is actually pretty good. But that okay, cool. It's not Bullfrog, great. But otherwise, I actually think that it sucks to look at this chart and say I actually think that this thing might come down to 7. I'm actually clicking at 680 right now, right? But if these two lines reject, and again, I'm surprised we didn't see the MSTR candle. It would come down there pretty quickly. Maybe that little 712 will hold, but again, that's basically still that same 7, right? So, oh man, it's so annoying to see good setup. Again, oh man, I mentioned this one yesterday. I texted my buddy and I said, if this thing close, and it's the same thing I said on the Discord, if this thing closes at 121, we'll go to 121, 1.21. Close over 121 would be interesting yesterday morning. It did not do it. We did not enter it. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad we did not enter it, right? This was a beautiful candle yesterday. That is a nice sustained volume, right? I'm looking at QUBT, right? It actually, like, it did it not that long ago. I'm surprised the volume's actually not that good, but hey, I'm seeing way better than the last few days and getting closer, right? And oh man, I like this set. I like the attempt and it's just, I'm telling you, I don't know. But hey, let's see if that gets there. It annoys me. It really, really does. Um, those are the big ones. Let me throw SMCI here real quick. Yeah, no, this one looks rough. This one does look rough. This one I'm seeing it's look, normally I would talk about the fact that like it might be ping-ponging between the moving averages. Again, to me, if Nasdaq is going to lose all 5 and potentially keep going, I'm here assuming the worst. I am, right? Like it's just it's tough. Yeah, I dig that volume, but to me, volume's actually still nothing spectacular, even this whole week, right? Monday, it's a red one, but Monday was the only one that got to the 50-day line. It didn't even crush it by any means. And just looking outside that Monday, we're basically going 2.5 weeks of being well below the 50, right? So volume's been missing here actually in my eyes. But the cluster was trying, these three were trying as well as they could. And again, I think yeah, the market wasn't even that good right here, but I don't think the market was horrible in that early Feb. Yeah, even that early Feb was at least flat to up as opposed to right now, right? So to me, I'm here thinking that's not going to hold. I have my next line down here. What's that right there? Maybe that 32 will hold. That's a little bit less than a 10% drop, but yeah, if 32 falls, it's 27.50 from there. So again, that's just my and I haven't been really looking at weekly charts much. I really haven't, right? Because we're still kind of hoping that the Nasdaq does like a day-to-day bounce like we talked about, right? You give me 2 green days on Nasdaq, oh, that second green day we're going to attack it so hard, right? So I'm not looking at weeks because I'm assuming bad across weeks, right? But who knows what'll happen with oh, we'll totally do weed a little bit later for sure. That's on my sector plan. So let me go back up real quick. TTD, I don't know TTD. Okay, let's all right, let me finish. You know what? I'm gonna start this as the viewer request part because I did finish the quant sector. So I'm gonna go up and work my way down for what I've missed. So MYSZ, my size. Interesting chart here. Okay, so my size, I would say a couple things. Number one, I see this thing knows how to pump and dump, right? I'm not a big fan of that. Today, the interesting place to have attacked this probably would have been here, right? Obviously, hindsight's 50-50, and the easy thing to say is a number of different places before, right? But I would have been interested over the 8 and the 20. I probably would have added a bad market buffer. Man, I might have even done 141. But from 141 all the way to there to that 170, that's not bad right there, right? You're adding 20% right there, right? 30 cents to that thing, right? So not quite the whole thing, but I don't know what this earnings look like. I'm not a fan of believing when a stock is under all the moving averages. When volume yesterday was 11,000 shares, right? I don't think anyone knew that today was going to be 11 million, right? So that's what a pump looks like. I don't know if it's going to dump, right? But I would basically, give me a sec, sorry. Yeah, it's this. This is a tough line. So look, 220 is probably the next real wall. Obviously, there's something right here at 2, right? So 2 to 220 is a 10% move. Maybe there's a 10% to be made right there. From here to 2 is maybe something, right? But yeah, I would expect, if I had to guess, this thing to come down to 150. If it loses 150, it's going to come back to that 140 that we were talking about. My size, personally, I'm not a big fan of these, but yeah, I would have loved this channel, right? That's the exact same. Which one was it? No, oops. It was IONQ, right? That's the same thing I said with IONQ. I like this channel. If that channel can fill, let's attack it, right? That's basically what happened with my size, in my opinion, right there. So, APLD. I know this one. Oh, that looks bad. You're under all 5 moving averages. You're basically confirming that's a rough death cross. You got the 8 and the 20 heading down. Oh man, that's because you're already here, right? Yeah, you have to be. Yeah, you're heading to 4.7. You're about to lose another buck here on APLD. I actually probably wouldn't even touch this thing. We can lower it to that. 840. This thing has to get over 840 before I touch that one. I got those. ONDS. This is actually one that we've talked about on the disc. Oops. Sometimes pudgy fingers do good. That one was not one. ONDS. So this ride was actually caught pretty nicely on the Discord. And then green took it to red, right? But once again, it is trying. I actually had no idea. This is an interesting reattempt right here. Look, I would be basically looking for Monday to confirm the break of the 2 and try to head on up there to 130. That's not a bad 20% move right there, right? You're basically adding 20 cents, a little bit more than 20 cents right there, right? So that's a nice little channel to try to attack if this thing continues, right? Otherwise, I could see it coming to 106 or 101. Arguably, you can say it's almost bullish as low as 90 cents because that is kind of an uptrending 8 and 20. Yeah, this one's interesting. This I would look at this one actually. That's an interesting little volume right there too. Look at that thing. Where are you on the weekly? That's a tight weekly right there. What's this? 120. What did we say? 120 was this. No, where was 120? Okay, so 120 to 130 isn't as nice, but we'll also got to see where that's going to open on Monday, right? That might even end up opening somewhere around that spot. No, I like what we said on the daily actually. Yeah, give it a little bit more. Let's call it like, I think 115, 116 might actually be a decent money line. With the goal would be 134 right there. Again, daily charts, right? Like if that can break, there's a lot more, and I guess I would say the next line is maybe 160 after that right there. Just don't lose the 20, right? Because you can see this thing knows how to be good with it and definitely knows how to stay under it, right? So, yeah, that's actually a better attempt than that right there, too. Nice. This one's a decent call out there, actually. ONDS, solid. I don't think Quantum's going to crash. I think all of tech is going to go down as long as NASDAQ goes down. You know what I mean? I think the less you hate on a sector and on a stock, and I think the less you call it a bubble goes a long way too. Because again, Titanic was a really well-built ship. It's just only so much can happen when an iceberg's coming. You know what I mean? So let's go with... That was a good thing right there. Let's do the weed sector real quick, and then I'll probably call it a day right here. So we'll do the next chapter right here. Okay, this is an interesting one, but I think I'm seeing more bad than good. All right, I say it's an interesting one because it's at least trying to like horizontal out with the 8 and the 20 instead of this like downward that we were seeing, right? So you can kind of say it's actually been on like a baby uptrend over the last like 2 weeks as well, right? Where's this? That's the money line. It really is. So it has to get back over at least 70 cents, right? More than anything, we're going to need that second candle confirmation because this is two moving averages, right? It's tough. It's tough to break up from two. It's hard to lose down two, right? And right now we're trying to escape two, and you're going to need that little extra more, right? It sucks that this candle didn't do it right here because you also had the volume, right? It was not a lot of volume. I would have liked it to be something more like that or like that, but hey, it was the first one at the 50-day line in a while, right? So volume's been an overall issue, and yeah, obviously this thing is just riding the 8 and the 20 down, right? Yeah. This on the weekly kind of says it wants to go to 78. Where is 78 here? Is that you? No, that's a little too high. But hey, that could actually give us a couple nice little dailies because look, I say this all the time, right? You go away from the 8, you come, look, you go away, you go to it, you go away, you come to it, you go away. I don't know if this is us coming to it, or if there's a little bit more to us going to it, right? But we've gone away from it on the weekly a bit. Let's see if we can come up and take advantage of that. Otherwise, all we're gonna keep doing is staying away, right? Like that's close as it got on that week, right? It doesn't necessarily have to touch it, right? But that's kind of the goal right here, is maybe a little bit of a baby recovery, but man, day to day, and I'm here kind of assuming the worst, not the best. Oh, this looks even worse than TLRY right here. Yeah, CGC, that's a tough candle. This is just telling me it wants to keep going down, right? Like we're definitely in all-time lows. There's no support I can draw. When I see something like this, when I see us go to the 8, away to the 8, and then like even worse away, like you could have almost said that this is the new death line, right? So I would expect a 20% loss from 110. 10 cents, 20 cents. So yeah, I would expect this to go to 80 cents next. Is that too much? No, yeah, 80 cents, give or take, right? So, and then again, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, CGC looks rough to say the least. MSOS, I'm just seeing this thing riding the 8 down, right? So maybe it'll try to do a nice little peak up to that 275 to kiss the 20, but yeah, I'm not seeing too much good there. Maybe like TLRY though, this has been away from the 8 long enough on the weekly and is going to try to make its way on up to the 8, right? So maybe kind of watch this for, I don't want to use the word random pop, but like maybe a little bit of a random pop. But yeah, this has been away from the 8 for quite a bit. Look, you can see it. This thing has stayed away from the 8 until it basically came back horizontally, right? So maybe this thing never even does the pop, and it actually does that exact same thing right there, right? So I did a PLD. I'll get to RHM after this sector. MSOS was right there. Let's look at SNDL. This is another one. Ah, that's tough right there. It looks like earnings was yesterday. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but man, this is basically saying I want to come to the death line. If you lose the death line, you will lose 20% after 20% after 20%, right? We want to break golden lines, not lose death lines. So SNDL is tough, especially if that's the reaction to yesterday's. Oh, that's the weekly. Hold on. Duh. That's a same thoughts, wrong time frame. I apologize right there, but yeah, I tried to recover. It didn't. Definitely not a solid earnings right there. 137. Yeah, there's nothing else I can think of on SNDL right there. Let's take a look at high tide right there. Get out of here. You're down here, high tide. Oh man, that's rough. Look, this lost the two. You break all 5 and you fly, you lose all 5 and you die, right? I actually would have not guessed that this thing was below $2 USD. I'm telling you, I'm barely looking at stocks right now. It's tough for things to catch my eye, and even when they do, and like they pop up for various reasons, it's hard to trust them, man. But yeah, this thing did well when it got over all the moving averages. I remember just this. Oh my god! Again, I'm gonna say it one more time. When you look at stocks that are not doing well, it's just it's oh man. The market is what the market is. You know what I mean? I know there's a lot of high tide longs, and I'm trying to say nice things, but look, we're on the last moving average on the weekly right now. We're already under all of them on the daily, right? So you lose this, and the next place is basically 181. and then after 181 is going to be 165. Tough, man. It really, really is tough. Still a long ways away from all-time lows, but it's real sad that I have to actually say all-time lows when we were thinking break the golden line and go. You know what I mean? So, yeah, this is tough, man. This sector is just not looking good right now. What else is another one we normally cover on this? ACB is one more. I'll just look at that real quickly. I remember liking their earnings and tough, 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 tough. Um, 423 I think makes sense right there. That's a tough cluster right there. Maybe if this thing can get to like 485, there's a decent move to 520 right there, but I think thinking that this is going to get to 485 is probably going to be pretty tough actually. So, um cool. All right. It is 2:30 basically. I actually do got to run. I got my wife giving me the look real quick outside the window. So this wasn't a bad live. I'm probably going to do this a little more. It's actually easier for me too, and I enjoy doing the live chats and stuff. So hey, let me know your thoughts. Let me know your opinions, even if you disagree. Oh, I appreciate you guys. I love doing this so, so much.